Alrighty, so good morning or afternoon or good evening for everybody that's joining us today. Welcome to our webinar on exploring the digital transformation of IT support. We're really excited to have you all here. So if you don't know me, my name is Nicole Wall. I manage our operations here at Anthology for Australia and New Zealand, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. Before we get into the session, I'm just going to go through a couple of housekeeping tips to make sure that everybody has a good experience on the WebEx platform. So if you haven't noticed already, down in the bottom right-hand corner here, you should see a couple of buttons for chat functionality, as well as to be able to see the participants of the session as well. So if you select either of those, you can view who's in the session, and you can also bring up the chat panel to talk to any of us. And of course, within that chat panel, you can also select who it is you want to speak to, whether you're posting to the entire room, or if you wanted to pick a moderator, you can select one of us to ask a question to or to call something out as well. We're going to be really encouraging you to use the chat to ask any questions throughout the session. But if you did have something that you didn't want to post to the entire group, feel free to direct that to one of the moderators, and we'll either answer that anonymously or we will answer it privately if it's something that you wanted to talk just to us one-on-one about as well. So to avoid any kind of background noise or those accidental unmutes, we have muted everybody automatically, and we're going to keep that muted until question time. When we get to the end and we have some time for questions, we will unmute everybody so that you have that option to be able to jump on the mic and go verbal if you'd like. And finally, for anybody who might like it, we do have closed captions available for this webinar. So again, just in the bottom left-hand corner, you should be able to see the CC button there to turn our closed captions on. And finally, don't be afraid to give us some reactions. You should see a little emoji icon in the center of your screen there. So you can provide a quick reaction to any of the content that we're going through, including the ability to tell us to go a little bit faster or slower or anything like that. We won't take offense. So please feel free to use those emojis as needed. Okay, so quick reminder as well, the session runs for about 45 minutes, including question times. It is going to be recorded, as I said. All registered participants will be given access to the recording. You'll get an email of this afterwards. We're also more than happy to share the slide deck if you need anything like that. Just feel free to ask us in the chat and we'll send you the slide deck specifically. We're also going to make this recording available more publicly on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to share this with your colleagues as needed. So again, really excited to have everyone join us today. This is something I've been talking to the team about for a little while now, because I've noticed in the last 12 months or so, we've really had quite a dramatic rise in the number of institutions who are looking at their support offerings. And I think that's been largely driven by lockdowns and COVID and sort of having students using different technologies quite suddenly in some cases, in different places and in different time zones. And so that need to provide a more holistic support service has sort of risen to the top there. It's also important because of some of the recommendations that are coming out of the Australian Universities Accord. And the interim report has suggested that support in particular is going to become an even more important consideration. And, you know, if you had a look through the report, and it's hundreds of pages long, so I don't anticipate everybody's read it with a fine-tooth comb, but there are a couple of really interesting call-outs that speak to student support and help desk. The first, obviously, is around promoting excellence in learning, teaching, and the student experience. And the report emphasizes, I guess, the importance of embracing technological advancements, particularly to make inclusive environments, but most importantly, to drive high quality teaching. And when we think about embracing technological advancements, with that comes a need for advanced and increased support as well, ensuring that any technical issues that are faced by students or by staff are really promptly addressed, and that we have that seamless experience between the kind of the learning and teaching and what's happening off campus as well. And it's also about a focus on a learner-centered experience. So having that single access to support in a model that supports the end user. So whether that be through picking up the phone, whether that be through chat support or email or tickets or any number of systems, we want to make sure that the learner is at the center of that and we don't have disparate systems supporting them in various different technologies. The next call out in the report is really around equity and participation, access and opportunity. And this is driven largely by the national targets around how many people we want to try and get through higher education in the next 20 to 50 years. In order to attain the targets that Australia is looking at, we really have to widen our participation and have non-traditional cohorts enter the university system. And when we think about widening participation and diverse learner cohorts, that really means that we have to ensure that all students, regardless of their background, that their location, have equal access to university resources, including support. It's going to be crucial for institutions to think about. And Help Desk can really provide that round-the-clock support in different ways, helping and making sure that those students, whether they have just a different time zone or a varying schedule, right? Those non-traditional students often don't have a traditional 9 to 5 university day. They're working full time. They have carer duties. They have different internet access, different technologies that they're using themselves. And so we need to be able to do that. And importantly, I think what's critical there is that those students have different digital literacies. We can't just assume that everybody on campus has a high understanding of how to use the technology around them. We also see a big focus in the report on institutional and collaborative governance. So one of those talks about efficiency and expertise, and it highlights the importance of universities being exemplary employers and also having efficient operations at the same time. So if you're outsourcing IT help desk services, it really allows you to tap into specialized expertise and have those items resolved quickly and efficiently, while simultaneously allowing your IT teams and your support teams to focus on more strategic initiatives. And another call out here that's not huge in the report, but I think is really important, is around the student voice. And there's two ways to think about this. The report thinks about it in terms of improving the operations of governing bodies, and that means we need to make sure that we have greater transparency in how we support students. We need analytics to understand what it is that students are asking, what questions do they need help with, and we need to be able to report on that and bring that student voice into strategic decisions. And simultaneously, there is a very clear recommendation for enhanced public reporting. Institutions are going to have to be able to showcase how they're supporting learners. And how you do that with your current support systems is going to be really important. I'm not going to spend too long going through the report, as you can imagine, it's quite big. But I'm really excited for us to showcase how we can support these areas, and particularly how our help desk offerings are assisting our students, our clients locally, I should say. So look, without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker today, Jordan Johnson. He is our Director for Help Desk Services and has a very impressive 11 years spent in roles here, spanning everything from operations to training, instructional design, technical consulting, even product development. And he's joining us today all the way from Kentucky in the United States. So I'm going to hand over to Jordan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nicole. It's great to be here. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us today. Before I get started, I'd like to talk a little bit about my background. I started with Blackboard back in 2012 as a Tier 1 LMS advisor. So working the front lines, taking phone calls 24/7 for multiple clients. At the time, I was attending university to be a public educator. Decided to invest more into my career path in the support services role that I was in. I moved into a Tier 2 position where I facilitated inbound volume for 2.5 years for Kentucky Community and Technical College System, which has over 200,000 students and 16 campuses across the state of Kentucky. I went from that position into a training facilitator position for 5.5 years, where I trained our LMS support, IT help desk, K-12 technical support, and other roles that I was pretty much asked to step into, such as enrollment, financial aid, admissions, support. And after 5.5 years, I decided I was ready to step into something different and challenge myself. So I stepped over into technical consulting for over a year, where I also dabbled into instructional design there for a little bit within my tenure. And then from that role, I now stepped over to be the director of the help desk services. So given that information, I think it's important to call out that being a part of the organization in those various roles, not only have I seen the operational side, the training side, the content development side, but I've also seen the client side. I've worked directly with individuals on expanding, enhancing, modernizing their support solutions that they have in place today. The content that I'll be sharing with you talks first and foremost about some statistics that we gathered at an EDUCAUSE conference to speak towards the pandemic, the stress that we're all feeling since that time. And we'll also talk about the technologies that we leverage today at Anthology. And we'll also speak about our future state and our roadmap and what we plan to implement in order to enhance and invest into our services. So let me go ahead and share the presentation now. If you wouldn't mind to give me a thumbs up in the chat to let me know if you can see this. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Without further ado, these are the statistics I wanted to highlight and get us started with. Number one, meeting the support needs of students is a growing challenge. I think we all understand that. I think everyone who's registered for this webinar came into this conversation wanting to hear more about what we can do in our individual roles to make an impact, not only for our institution, the people who are employed at the institution, but at the end of the day, your students, your end users, your faculty, your staff, they're the ones that you really should be taking a heavy look at. And, is the services that you have in place today meeting the needs of those end users? EDUCAUSE really shared this over with us a couple of years ago, and it was, number one, people are looking for available 24/7, 365 support above everything else. As someone who is not only a college student today, I'm continuing education, I have a family, I have a full-time career. It makes me feel comfortable to know that if I'm struggling after I clock out at the end of the day to submit my assignment, if I'm struggling for a video to load within my course, my instructor's office hours are not going to be 24/7. My instructors are phenomenal people. I can email them, they will get back to me, but they have a lot of other students that they're supporting. It's nice to know that I can call a number, get connected with a real person, and then tell them my problem and get a real solution within a short time frame. Without being on the call for 30, 45 minutes, waiting to speak to someone, I'm able to connect to someone in under 120 seconds, and then I'm able to have a resolution in under 9 minutes. So that highlights an important piece of what we provide. You can see here, 41% wanted faster support. They wanted 38% highlighted easier to find. Something else that we do here in Anthology with every implementation of help desk services is we build a custom branded support site for your institutional stakeholders to house external knowledge-based documentation. Maybe you have a CRM platform today, such as ServiceNow, and you've built a self-service website. What we can do is we can build from that. We'll build a branded site that can have chatbot functionality with a custom Anthology chatbot that we can design for your institution. It also will have support modalities that live on that page, such as web case functionality, live chat that lives within the chatbot, and also the ability for you to access the contact numbers, the availability hours, and of course, the ability for you to solve your own issue. I think that's important and something that a lot of people may not take into consideration when thinking about an outsourced vendor partner. And that's very important to us at Anthology, is we're not seen as someone who's just picking up the phone or responding to the chat. We want to be seen as an extension of your institution, someone who's there 24/7 to meet your needs, not only on the support services side, but on the institutional workflow side. So think about it like this. When we come into the conversation and we're curating a scope of support for your institutional needs, we're going to ask you a lot of consultation questions. We're going to say, what does support look like today? How many departments work from the CRM? For example, is your library department supporting the LMS platform today? Do they work from a separate CRM than your information technology help desk? What about your facilities department? Are they all working cohesively together, or is it all siloed? Because what we'll do is once we have that all of the information that we need to build a custom curated proposal, we'll take some time, we'll come back internally, myself, our implementation team, once we have that proposal that we feel is going to meet your needs, when we set up a separate conversation and we go over that proposal. Before we even move into the actual implementation or signing any type of documents, you're getting a holistic consultation of services of here's what we feel is going to meet your institutional needs. Now, this is important because I think an analogy that I'll leverage oftentimes, and I was just in Orlando, Florida last week speaking about automation and AI and the impacts of higher education. And I'll tell you, a lot of people came to that topic and they're saying, how do we modernize our workflows? What does it look like as far as the investment amount that I should be making as an organization or as an institution into our contact center software in order to stay competitive, in order to meet our end user needs? I come back to this and I'll say, when you go to the doctor and you tell them your symptoms, maybe you have a headache, maybe you have a scratchy throat, maybe you have a dry cough, they'll prescribe you a medication that treats the symptoms, but oftentimes the symptoms aren't actually the root cause of the problem. And I think about that as I go into conversations with institutions. Maybe help desk itself isn't the overall solution to what other institutional problems that you're having. Maybe there is a disconnect between your departmental workflows. Maybe there isn't enough strong communication that's happening today. What we want to do is we want to be seen as the leader in the EdTech space, as the world's largest EdTech company, and we want to provide you those consultations from a holistic perspective. So for example, Anthology has the most robust EdTech software solution, and it partners very well with our services side. So as I move into this next slide, the last point that I want to highlight is on the right, you'll notice 76% of higher ed staff today are reporting higher levels of stress versus the start of the pandemic. I don't know if I agree with that. Do you? Give me a thumbs up if you feel stressed since the pandemic. There it is, right? I mean, we're all feeling it. Imagine how your students feel, right? I think it's important to look internally at ourselves, but your students, your faculty, your staff, this has made a huge impact not only on us as individuals, but on the entire world. So imagine a mother who's a single mother struggling, and now she's also trying to continue her education. And she's struggling working 8 to 5 or maybe working multiple jobs. And at the end of the day, she's trying to submit her assignment and it's not working. That's a whole lot of stress. Now, as that single mother looks at her life and she says, I don't know if higher education is for me. I should probably just drop out and give up. And that's because she doesn't feel supported. We hear that over and over again. We have student ambassadors that share their stories with us, and that is a resounding answer that we hear. It's higher education is difficult to manage, and if I don't feel supported at an institution, it's easier for me to give up and just continue working an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 5 job, whatever it is, or working multiple positions to support my family, than it is to better myself and continue the education path. Now, on this next slide, we'll talk about who we are at Anthology, and this is why a couple of years ago, or I guess it's a few years now, that when they announced that Blackboard would be merging with Anthology, at the time, it really excited me because I understood that what Anthology had and what Blackboard had, bringing those two organizations together, was creating something special, something that other vendors in this space cannot offer. So we offer a CRM, an SIS, an LMS now with the Blackboard side, and over on the far right is the column that I'm associated to and that I work from, and that's the solution services side. So underneath the support and retention piece, what we're talking about specifically for your region is the help desk component. The help desk, now understand this, because this is very important, a help desk can be a definition of many variables. So it could be information technology, networking, SIS support, whatever the workflow is that you want to establish with your help desk scope of support, that's for you to make as the institutional stakeholder. That's your decision. But think about it as the next level. Think about it from the perspective of an end user. So when you're curating that scope of support, maybe it's not just information technology, maybe it's also LMS. And then what if somebody calls the help desk because it's the only available number, but they want to know, hey, I'm struggling to find this location on campus. Well, Jordan, that's not help desk. That's somebody needing to know where the dining hall is at the university. Well, we do that as well. As the institution, what we want to do is target those trending incidents that we see, conducting the trend analysis during the discovery conversation so that we're able to curate and commit to a 90% first contact resolution. So when we're speaking to someone, we want to say when they have disconnected the line that they feel comfortable with what we're telling them. And if they didn't get a solution on the call after speaking to one of our advisors, then we've at least directed them with next steps. So maybe I tell you where the dining hall is, and on the next phone call, somebody is struggling to submit their test, and it's auto-submitted within Learn, and now they need the test to be reset. Now, obviously, we don't have the accessibility to reset the test for them. That would be an instructor's decision, but it is nice to know, hey, I'm going to send a note, an escalated case to the institution and notify them that the instructor needs to reset this assessment so that they know that somebody is sending the communication on their behalf. Even if you're not giving them a direct resolution, you're still giving them the peace of mind to know that somebody is there supporting them. Now, on this next slide, we'll talk more about our help desk IT support specifics. So who do we support today? Well, we support over 200 institutions just in the help desk and LMS space. We have facilitated over 1 million incidents, and this is just data from the 2021-2022 fiscal year. We have an 85% customer satisfaction rate on average, and we partner with institutions such as Wichita State, UCO, KCTCS, Miami-Dade, and others that you see across the bottom here. So not only, I will tell you all day that this is the greatest solution. This is a great service. I'm very passionate about it. I've been involved for over 11 years in this role, and if I wasn't passionate about it, I would not still be here. But we also have a great network of references that we will let you speak to as an institution if you have an interest to do that. We're not asking anyone to make a commitment or move forward with anything until you have the peace of mind yourself as the institutional stakeholder to move forward with that contract signature. Now, there's 3 core ingredients to provide the best possible service, and this is holistic, right? We mentioned that a couple of times now, and that's technology, people, and data. So can everyone give me a thumbs up if you've heard of artificial intelligence? If you've heard that mentioned at all, right? It's the hot topic. All right, now give me a thumbs up if you've heard of automation. But what does it mean? During my conversation at the ICMI conference in Orlando, so many people had it as a buzzword on the title of their presentation. Artificial intelligence in the contact center space, leveraging automation to make an impact. What does that look like? Well, I think that artificial intelligence is evolving at a very rapid pace, and it's something that's very interesting, not only in the contact center support space, but also in business, organizations, healthcare, across the board. Everyone wants to know, how can I leverage this as a tool to make an impact? I want to talk about what we're doing on the services side today and what this looks like in the future state. Number one, we leverage some of the most modern, advanced automation technology, and we target, on average, 25% automation for our IT help desk LMS support. This is how we're able to offer such competitive pricing, because we partner with you as the institution to give us information. So for example, let's say you have a student who needs to reset their password, right? We see that as 65 to 70% of the tier 1 issues that we facilitate today. I can't log in, and I'm calling you instead of clicking on forgot password or conducting self-service, or maybe the self-service did not work. At the end of the day, I need help. Can you please reset my password? So that's a lot. 65 to 70% is a large number of incidents. What we offer at Anthology is the ability to integrate with your current Active Directory system leveraging our telephony system. So a student can go through identification and verification in line with all the security protocols that you have as an institution. Once they have been identified and verified, the system taps into your existing AD, resets the password, feeds them the password over the telephony system, so that student's issue is resolved. How else are we leveraging automation? Our IVR system today is advanced in the fact that if it's something that we can curate to be an automated escalation, we can do that as well. So for example, during this discovery call here recently, an institution asked me, hey, we're very interested in IT help desk and LMS support, but there's some stuff that we want to facilitate that we really don't want your agents talking to our end users about. The reason being is it requires third-party tool access. Now, I want to highlight that curating the scope of support for your institution means if you're looking for that handhold type of support, that's perfectly acceptable. We will provide you with advisors that will have the ability to log into your systems, to use your existing CRM platform, to document cases and pretty much be an extension completely of you as the institution. But what we like to do is we like to facilitate and create an integrated type help desk where we're leveraging our tools, our modern workflows, to where we're able to commit to that 90% first contact resolution and 25% automated target number through deflection messaging within the IVR, auto escalation. So if a student says, I need help accessing my student information system to add or drop a class, well, maybe you as the institution have a special workflow that requires a special team to manage that request. If the student identifies in the IVR that that's what their question is about, our system will automatically create the case, document, categorize, and add notes, pull the contact data, and then send it to you. And then it will tell the student your issue has been sent. Please wait, within the SLA, whether it's 24 to 48 hours, whatever the case. And then that student now has the understanding that someone's going to get back to me without ever having to speak to a person. And this is customized with every conversation that we have with an institution. That's how we're leveraging technology today. We also have implemented, as I'm sure you're aware, artificial intelligence. We're leveraging generative AI and partnered with Microsoft within our LMS platform. And of course, we're looking at it on the services side. We've created a trustworthy AI committee that's overseeing the implementation of AI within our services and our solutions. So we're taking it a step back and we're saying before we begin to expand and modernize and dive headfirst into this new technology, we want to make sure that we're being responsible as well. We want to make sure before we actually step up and say this is something we're doing, we're jumping in headfirst, that we're doing it from an ethical standpoint. Number two is something I'm very passionate about since I was a trainer for 5.5 years, is highly trained agents. Our agents are some of the best people. I started out as a tier 1 help desk advisor, so maybe I'm not the best example, right? I mean, I've worked my way up over 11 years, and I'm not trying to say that this is the story of everyone, but I'll tell you, every single person that I trained came into the training class nervous. That day one jitter of, I don't know if I can do this, I'm nervous of getting out there. But those people, watching them overcome that battle, watching them take their first phone call or facilitate their first chat and become comfortable with the workflows, that's what made me stay within the training for 5.5 years, because I love seeing that. I love seeing someone go from, I'm not sure if I can do this, to now being an operations supervisor or being an account manager, managing our client relationships. And the third piece here is data. So real-time data and optimization and regular review meetings. And Nicole highlighted this earlier. We have real-time reporting that you will have access to. You have access to listen to all of the phone calls as well. So peace of mind is there. And then you can also meet with our account management team, or we call them the client success team, who will share trend analysis with you and offer enhancements and modernizations to your current workflows as we build upon our partnership. Now, speaking about what we support today, we support over 115 separate applications. Now, the way that I explain this to clients is if we have the documentation, we will support it. So if you have a new software item that we do not currently have documentation over, we have a team of instructional designers that will translate that documentation into our format, into a way that it's easy for our advisors to digest and access the information, because at the end of the day, what's more important than anything is customer service, your soft skills, and having the resources that you need as an advisor to provide a solution. Now, on this next slide, it goes over a little bit more about the individual categories of the applications that we support. So hardware service request is a good one. Well, Jordan, how are you going to support hardware service request if you're remote? You're not on campus. It's a great question. For multiple institutions, we have classroom emergency protocols in place to where our team is going through the initial troubleshooting steps, the ticket documentation, what room are you in, what hardware are you having trouble with, and then we go through the basic stuff. There was an IT administrator who had explained to me that a lot of their IT staff was having to go to classrooms to plug in HDMI cables. Right? You should not have an IT staff member going into a classroom to plug in an HDMI cable. That's the way that we can offer the hardware service request, is our team goes through that basic setup, is let's make sure it's plugged in, let's do a hard power cycle on it, and then once we go through each of those items, if we're not able to solve it, that's when we escalate through the classroom emergency protocol to the on-site IT team to come into the classroom and resolve the issue. And then desktop support. So we offer operating system support, browser troubleshooting, peripheral management, identity management and access issues. Again, I mentioned earlier, 65 to 70% of what we see is login issues. So this is something we've invested heavily in within our technology, including the password reset capabilities, multi-factor authentication. Today, we offer integrations with Microsoft Azure, LDAP, and Okta, and we're expanding upon that and investing on the product development side every day. And we also assist with Active Directory registration and activation. Now, speaking towards student information systems, we can assist with navigation assistance, to-do list management, and then also mandated training. Learning management systems. So we are Anthology. We have one of the greatest LMS platforms out there, Learn. But that isn't something that we're restricted to on the support side. Our advisors are trained on all of the major LMS platforms and leveraging their knowledge-based documentation to provide a solution, and also enabling them by providing them an admin account within that LMS environment, which we store within a password manager. So they never have access to the actual username or password, but they have the visibility to go in and assist someone and handhold and walk them through whatever they're having issues with, whether it's a student who needs help finding assignment 3, or if it's an instructor who needs help creating assignment 3. And then the last piece here is network and security. So wireless connectivity, Ethernet setup and configuration, mapping your network drives, phishing attempts. So it's very important that all of those are being tracked and reported appropriately to the security teams. And oftentimes when you're augmenting your staff to Anthology, and now we're facilitating your incidents 24/7, our frontline advisors are going to be the ones who hear if there's a critical outage, who hear if there's a major phishing attempt and students are calling in wanting to know what this strange email is, asking them to click on a random document or provide their student personal information. We're going to be the front line, and we have policies in place that our advisors, once they identify a trend in cases, report to our operations management. Our operations manager then reaches out to you as the institution to notify you that something's going on. Now, this goes back to our references point that I mentioned earlier. I will tell you all day that it's the greatest service ever, because I've been here 11 years and I'm passionate about it. But let me share some feedback that we've received for other institutions using the services today. So this is from UCO, University of Central Oklahoma. This is their Vice President of Enrollment and Student Services. Christopher shared that since partnering with Anthology, the average call wait time is significantly reduced. In addition, students are excited to get answers to their questions 24/7, 365. Anthology is handling the majority of incoming calls, which allows our staff to focus on other responsibilities. Office morale is growing, and we've noticed a decrease in staff turnover since the implementation. Now, some of the statistics that we've identified here is they had a 96% reduction in call waiting time. And this is going to be really important for those who manage teams. They saved over 5,000 hours of frontline staff, like 5,000 hours of time that our team saved them by taking the help desk and one-stop side of the business for them to invest on other higher level projects. Some institutions have, if it's a smaller school, they'll leverage student workers and their IT help desk. Larger institutions sometimes are overpaying an engineer to take password reset calls. And that comes back to our discovery conversation, the consultation that we provide you. By doing this support for over 15 years, we've seen every school size from as small as 500 students to as large as over 200,000. And they also saw a 1.5% increase in student retention. This next one is Cuyahoga Community College, or Tri-C, as we call it here on the state side. This is from Gary, who's the VP and Chief Information Officer. I've seen other offerings for help desk services, and the difference with Anthology is how they train their people, their knowledge base, and how they are committed to continuous improvement. I think that is what Anthology has done extremely well. Some statistics that Gary shared with us was a 91% student satisfaction rate, a 98.6 accuracy rate, and a 59-second average speed to answer, knowing that every person has contacted them on average has had to wait less than a minute in order to speak to a real person. Now, this comes back to the proposal and the discovery conversation that we have with you as the institution. Some of the SLAs that we commit to in the contract language is, again, the first contact resolution rate of 90% or greater, customer satisfaction rate of 85% or greater. We have competitive pricing. The pricing is based on what you need as an institution. Again, we can have as basic of support as you need or as intricate as you need. It all comes down to what works best and that consultation that we're going to provide you once we understand what's happening today. We also have average speed to answer guarantee as low as 60 seconds. And on the left-hand side here, you'll notice flexible service levels to best suit your needs as the institution. We have phone, chat, web, email, and automation. On-demand reporting at your fingertips to see how the support is going. Full call recording access. We're not hiding anything from you. You'll have full access to case management. You can listen to the phone calls, review the chat transcripts. We give you full access to our environment to do so. We also, SmartView is our ticketing and case management system. That's important to highlight as well. We have a proprietary CRM technology that was created many years ago. It was being developed when I first started back in 2012, and it's called SmartView. It's made up of 3 separate components. Service Desk, which is the back end side of it, which is used for reporting and case management. We also have Advisor Desktop, which is utilized for the inbound volume and documentation. And we also have the self-service portal that I mentioned earlier. All of that are components of our SmartView technology. And again, we have a 24/7 staffed hotline for outage and incident reporting, meaning if there's something going on, we're going to let you know. And at the bottom here, you'll notice it talks about the service level for each institution, the implementation fee, technology bundle, or other optional add-ons. The way that I look at it, again, is during the discovery conversation, if you're wanting a very intricate support model that involves our system integrating with yours through API, we can make that happen. If you're wanting to hire someone at Anthology to manage the tier 2 type work, we can make that happen, meaning that our tier 1 frontline staff, if they're not able to solve it, they would escalate the case, not directly back to you as the institution, but they would escalate it to the level 2 that's associated to your contract. And if they're not able to resolve it, they would send that back to you as the institution. The level 2 role is also very important because they offer one-on-one faculty consultation appointments. That's what I did for over 2.5 years for KCTCS. So your faculty have a lifeline where they can schedule a 30-minute conversation and have anything that they need to have addressed appropriately. Now, that's the last slide that I have for you. I'd like to, as Nicole just posted, highlight, is there any questions for me directly before we wrap up the webinar?
I might have one. I had a couple of people chatting to me in the background, Jordan, and some of the examples that you showed there, well, in fact, all of them were US institutions when we talk about clients. Can you maybe talk to some of the international clients that we're supporting and how our different kind of the people answering the calls, how they handle the sort of different cultural or different country contexts that might come with help desk?
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember being an advisor, and they told us that I was working 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. That was my schedule stateside. And they told me we just signed an Australian client called Charles Darwin. And they said, hey, as you're moving forward with this support, there's some cultural differences that you need to understand. So what we do is we train our advisors on those cultural differences. So they talk about what are some nuances that you need to understand, what are some workflows that you need to understand, what's the time differences, and those are all documented within the knowledge base and at the advisor's fingertip so that they understand as they're working with these end users that are not associated directly with the same culture that we are, that we're being mindful and respectful of those cultural nuances.
That's great. Thank you. I think it's important for us. We often, people often make some assumptions globally that just because we're an English speaking country, that, things are going to be exactly the same as the US, but actually our education models can be very, very different. The terminology, all sorts of things. So, thanks for that comment, Bill. That's right. We've got to get a couple of things in there, right? Although might be a little bit strange if every one of the help desk members answered the phone saying "G'day" to the students, but who knows? Maybe we should trial it. Look, if there aren't any other questions, I know we're right on time here. If you did have something that you thought of after the sessions, you can always reach out to any one of the anthology team, and we're happy to answer anything that you might have or provide you any additional information. You will get a copy of this recording, and you can also, if you would like a copy of the slide deck, just pop us a message and we'll make sure that we send that through to you as well. But otherwise, thank you all very much for your time today. Jordan, thanks for staying up late to talk to us about the service. We really appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody here at Anthology, we look forward to seeing you all soon and having a chat. So have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
Good day, mate. Did I do it right?
You did it right.
Thank you all.